Well, good evening, folks. This is Dave Schmidt. I'm your host here again tonight on the Cosmic Connections, and this is the April 1st program. And thank you for everybody on Facebook for saying hi and that everything kind of is sounding good out there. And yes, it's April 1st, but you know what? I'm not going to do any April Fool's jokes, okay? Other than I did post on my Facebook posting, a couple of weeks ago that says that there could be no April Fool's Day like this because it's such crazy. And I saw one that says we had to cancel April 1st because things are going on so it's so crazy. So today is actually March 32nd, not April 1st. But however you want to look at it, we'll still call it April 1st. And welcome to the program tonight. So Blanca, with that, how are you doing on this fine April Fool's Day in Atlanta, Georgia?
Wonderful. As I was telling you, we had an opportunity to enjoy a just glorious spring day. We've had so much rain for the past couple of weeks, and now it's showing in all the trees and the blooms and all. So we had a beautiful day today.
Well, it's interesting. We haven't had hardly any rain here at all for the last 3 weeks. It's just been absolutely beautiful. Yesterday it got very warm. It got up to 88 degrees here yesterday. Today was a high of around 81. I actually spent a little time down on the beach today, got some beach time in. So the public beaches have been closed, but where I live, we have private entrances to the beaches, so we still go down there, those of us, because it's not a public beach that the public closes off. But for us here in Florida, we're going through a lot of changes. Our governor today basically put us on a lockdown in so many words. We have a stay-at-home order in the whole state. Now, they said that's going to go into effect tomorrow. I mean, you still get to go to the store to get your food and stuff like that, but in essence, you can't go out and be lollygagging around and all that kind of stuff. So, interesting time that we have here now. Interesting things that are going on. We've never had anything like this before. So, Blanca, with that, what else would you like to share with us tonight?
Well, we've been on stay-at-home kind of orders for a while in Georgia already. But yes, you can make trips to the grocery store or the doctor or whatever you need to do. And it's been nice, actually, to have a little bit of extra time to catch up on things that you didn't have the time to do. And, of course, we've talked about keeping yourself healthy, your immune system strong, and we even ate out in the patio a couple of times. So some things that we normally wouldn't take the time to do, we've done. And I think it's important to kind of do things that nurture you and lift your spirit, and maybe things that before you didn't have time to do, now take the time to do. And maybe that's the way we can keep our spirits light during these times.
Yeah. Well, for me, because it's just me here and I don't go away to work a regular job, so nothing really changed on my schedule. But for folks that do have to go out and do the workabout day, it's probably been some really nice changes for them. But some folks are getting hit pretty hard financially. Some folks are going to be losing their jobs. There's going to be they're anticipating even up to 35 to 40% unemployment. It's just going to be absolutely disastrous from the economic and employment side. And today, again, the markets were down pretty strong. I don't think we have seen the bottom of that yet. I think we still have a ways to go. So it's an interesting time. We have never gone through anything like this in the history of our country. And it's there that we have the opportunity to say, how are we going to react to this issue? What are we going to do with that? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about in the program tonight, is about what is our choices? How to react to the crisis that comes about our way and the energy that we put into that. But Blanca, is there anything else that you want to share with us before I do some short updates on a couple of the other things?
No, I think we're good to go.
Okay. Well, folks, then I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I always give a short update on what's happening on the currency exchange and then on Meta One. The currency exchange, folks, there's nothing new. We're just waiting. I did get an update from our brokers saying things are very close, that they are anticipating that this turn down scenario is the perfect scenario for funds to be released. They basically did say they don't anticipate anything happening for about another week or two. If anything happens, then yes, I will send out information in the newsletter. So don't go sending me emails and saying, is there an update? No, there is nothing new to report, okay? Now, I did make a comment a couple of weeks ago that I was going to have Robert Dunlap from Meta One here on the program tonight, but we have decided that probably right now it's best that we just kind of sit back on that a little bit. A lot of you that are coin holders were basically on their program that they had on Sunday night when they gave an update, and it was done on a Zoom recording, and you were introduced to all the staff, and that was there at Meta One as well. And you have seen in the newsletter also that we have an issue going on with the SEC. I'm going to make a few comments on that. First of all, the SEC had filed basically what was called an injunction before a judge, and they had made statements that what they said that it was accurate and it was correct, and they had evidence. Well, I can tell you right now that the two attorneys from the SEC, I'm not going to name them by name, but I know you're listening to the program because we know you were listening to the Meta One recording program the other night. You do have you've signed up on my newsletter list, so obviously you're here listening. And we'll be seeing each other before a judge in a court of law. And you're going to have to make the statements before the judge about how your facts were flat out misrepresentations and lies. That's called perjury, is what it's called. You stated that we have it in writing, you stated that nobody has any coins. Excuse me, we have thousands of people who have been issued coins, and there were over 700 of those were on the recording on Sunday night. You made the statement that we don't own the art. Flat out wrong. Both Robert and I have interviewed the gentleman who was the legal owner of the art, and it's recorded in 2 court recording cases that Meta One is the legal owner of the art. The man who owned it is a 40-year art trader and broker, and he said yes, he sold all of that art to Meta One. And I have a video recording of him, and Robert has a video recording of him. That's a lie. You said that Meta One doesn't own the gold mine. Flat out lie. Meta One owns title, has recorded title to the gold mine. And you're going to have to answer before the judge why you basically had convinced the previous owner of the mine to basically testify what he had to say. But more than that, Meta One doesn't own just one gold mine. What I've been told is they own 3. And then they have a lot of gold that's above ground gold in bars. You basically said that Robert's banking partner, and I'm not going to mention his name, used Meta One funds to buy a $211,000, I think it was a Ferrari, but a $211,000 car. Another flat out lie with no facts to back up what you stated. He's a part-time auto broker. He buys and sells them, but he never owns them for himself. And I can go on and on. You have basically accused us of basically stealing $4.3 million from Meta One coin for our own usage. Lie. I have never received one dime of payment from Meta One. I am not on staff. I do not receive any money, but yet you have accused us of going to casinos and extremely expensive restaurants. That's all in writing that you placed before the judge. So, the 2 attorneys, you're going to have to explain to the judge why you presented those as facts when it was nothing more based on hearsay of a couple people that you interviewed and has absolutely no facts. That's all I'm going to say on it. Folks, it gives you the understanding of what's going on there. This is basically a direct attack from the SEC toward us. And we have solid, hard, in-court recorded evidence to back up what we are saying. And they said they had facts, but it was just hearsay. And in a court of law, when you present it before a judge, it's called perjury. Perjury is what it's called, you SEC attorney. So that's what you guys are going to have to deal with, and that's what you're going to have to explain before the judge about why you had perjured yourself and why you lied and why you made up all of this stuff in an attempt to take us down. That's it. that's about all I want to say on that. And we basically felt it was best to not bring Robert on the program tonight because we are going through a legal process. I was able to, I did check with him to say the things that I said here tonight because it's factual evidence. What they filed before the courts, it's out in the public because it's not a sealed case, so it's a public court case. So they stated that publicly, so I can come back and say what I'm going to say publicly, and we'll see you before the judge to be able to present our factual evidence versus your hearsay, innuendos, and perjury statements. So, with that, that's about all that I want to say on the Meta 1 stuff tonight. Blanca, what would you like to add to that? Anything you'd like to say after I went on my little presentation?
Well, it's from what I see, it's quite an amazing, like I said, transaction, and it saddens me that when something that is done with an intention for the good of the people has to, suffer this sort of thing. But we'll see. You'll have your day in court, and we'll go there.
Well, I just want to say that I'm not a rookie at this stuff. Folks, remember, I'm a retired state senator. I spent 12 years in the legislature. It was very, very common for me to take on constituent cases of individual constituents who were basically being totally harassed and false charges filed against them by government lawyers. It was common for me to defend the constituent against a lying, cheating, manipulative government lawyer. So I'm not a rookie at this. I've been down this road many times, and I know what I'm doing here. And so has Robert. Robert is very, very good at what he does. He knows how to file the appropriate issues and to file the appropriate counterparts, against the judges. We have already filed our issues against the SEC, and we basically are filing criminal charges against them for what they have done. So it will play out. It's still got to go through its due process of law, and we understand that. So it's going to take, 2 to 4 weeks to get this stuff to work through. But I'm just saying it's going to be interesting to see the two attorneys in the courtroom, why they're going to basically explain what they had to say. And if necessary, we will bring in the previous owner of the gold mine and get his statement about what they said to him as well. So that's about all I want to say on that issue at this time, okay? Anything you'd like to add to that, Blanca?
No, but thanks for the update.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. So tonight I wanted to just basically talk about how do we react? How do we respond to the various crises in our lives? Now, Robert and I are obviously, facing a crisis with the SEC, and the world out there is facing this crisis with the coronavirus issue. I'm not going to go into the details and all the stories that are out there about the coronavirus. There's stories about, well, did it really come from, a monkey in China, or was it actually human created? Because there is evidence that there's a patent on this virus, by what I've been told. And also, what is the relationship with the 5G new communications, issues, that how it affects the virus and affects our bodies and what's taking place within the bodies? Lots and lots of different stories that are out there. And folks, I'm not going to go into that. Everybody's going to have their opinion, and there's a lot of different, stories that are out there. But the real issue is, how do we choose to react? How do we choose to respond? What is it that we get to do? How do we rise above the crisis so we keep ourselves in control and in peace with ourselves and with what's going on in the world around us? We always have to start with everything by this basic fundamental issue, is the fact that the world that we live in is comprised of energy. Everything is energy. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. All the experiences that we have are the result of what is called how we process the energy of our thoughts. Now, hold on here just a second, because I'm going to get some books. And I have, in the last 2 and 3 months, read about 5 different books that talk about quantum physics and how quantum physics is the level of physics at nothing but the energy form, and how human consciousness is what takes the energy of quantum physics, puts it into its form, and creates everything that we experience. Let me just share a couple of the books with you. Number 1, you have to start with this basic premise, The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. Backed up by science and more good science, that the world we live in is not a physical world. It's a holographic world. And it's a holographic illusion, but it's our thought processes that makes it seem and experience physical to us. And that is based on our relationship with quantum physics. And the best example is that you can Google this, and it's called the double slit experiment. It's a famous experiment where they displayed and show how human thought, human consciousness, is what tells the electrons of what we call makeup matter to be able to collate together and form and do what they do. Another book by Samuel Avery called The Quantum Screen. It says the enigma of modern physics and the new model of perceptual consciousness. It talks about how our perception, our consciousness, is what creates everything it is that we are experiencing. Another great book called Biocentrism, How Life and Consciousness Are the Keys to Understanding the True Nature of the Universe. Biocentrism by Robert Lanza, MD. How life and consciousness are the keys to understanding the true nature of the universe. And the one that was my favorite is called Mysticism and the New Physics, again by Michael Talbot, the same man that wrote The Holographic Universe. He's talking about how spirituality or mysticism are basically merging together with quantum physics that is beginning to help us define and understand our world. One of the reasons why I call this program the Cosmic Connections, because if you go into the dictionary, one of the definitions of cosmology is the merging of spirituality and science to defining and understanding our world. Cosmology, the merging of science and spirituality into defining how we understand our world. That's why the program is now called the Cosmic Connections. It's about understanding who we are and how we process and perceive life and how we bring that in, because you can't escape the essence of spirituality on it. When we go into perceiving things, as humans, we are going to perceive things on basically 3 different levels. Now, I'm going to call these not dimensions, but I'm going to call them densities. Because you see, human consciousness, based on the density of the thought and the energy that is producing, will be determined how you view what's going on around you. So you have 3rd density, and then you have 4th density, and you have 5th density. 3rd density is basically the way that we would observe what would be the physical world based on Newtonian physics. Everything is solid, everything is real, everything is basically, it's a cause and effect. We basically are victims of stuff go around and we have no control over what is there. And we live in the world of a 3rd density dimension of how we want to perceive, see things, experience things. We value power, we value position, we value money, and it's driven by ego consciousness is what it is. That is what is called the 3rd density. When we move into the 4th density, we're moving into a higher state of consciousness. We're starting to let things be. We understand that we are energetic beings. We are conscious beings. And we have the ability to rise above all the drama that is going on around us. We don't hold such deep value into physical things, into money, into status, into position, into power. We allow those things to just be, but yet we're still identifying and still judging The third density events is what we're doing. And so we haven't quite learned, we've learned how to process things in our own lives at a fourth density, but we're still making judgment to the world at a third density. And then you move into what is called the fifth density. When you're in the fifth density is when you truly start to understand and to live and to experience the world is just a holographic illusion. Nothing out there physical is real. Nothing out there is basically becoming physically real or drama world to you unless you choose to let it be. When you rise above all of the drama is where you get to live in this place of a higher sense of energy, in a higher sense of frequency, in a higher sense of being, and you don't attach to the drama that's going on around you. And normally, in a situation that I am facing with the SEC, that would be a very large drama event. And for the two SEC attorneys, you've probably got a lot of drama stuff now going on in your thoughts based on what I told you tonight, how you're going to have to stand before the judge and explain why you basically flat out lied and made up information. That's probably creating a lot of drama thoughts. It might be creating a lot of fear. It might be creating a lot of anger. It might be creating, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It might create a sense of retaliation, of wanting to retaliate, a defensiveness of wanting to protect yourself. I let it all go. I don't go there. I don't live in that world. I have to still work through this process, and this didn't happen to me overnight. Learning how to live in what is called the fifth density is stuff I've been working on for about 5 or 6 years now. It's called undoing the ego consciousness, and you move into what is called essence consciousness or spirit-based consciousness. You understand that the world we live in is just a holographic illusion and it's not real, so therefore don't make it real. You understand that if you're experiencing drama, it's because you're choosing through the perception of your own free will to make that drama real to you. When you live in essence consciousness, you learn how to just bypass it. Just let it be and don't get involved in it. You rise above the drama. You become the observer, not the participant. And you learn to experience life at a place of peacefulness and a sense of wholeness. You come to understand that the world we live in, everything is connected at the energetic quantum level, and it's all a world of oneness. And so you learn to live in oneness and in harmony with everything around you and not in separation, opposition, in the attacking drama that is there. See, separation consciousness becomes the opposite of essence or spirit consciousness. And separation consciousness is what creates most of the problems in our world. It creates the drama. It creates the anxiety. It's the essence and the foundation of the fear that we experience. When you learn to live in peace and let go of the ego consciousness, you have the ability to totally rise above all the issues. I was on the phone with a friend earlier today, and she was bringing up all the issues around the coronavirus and what it's creating and the 5G and everything else. And I said, hold on just a second. Let's stop. If what you're saying, if you want to make the 5G issue be real and all the problems with it, then guess what? That's the consciousness you're giving to it, and it's going to be real to you. We live in a world, again, everything is energy. And energy, the frequency of an event or a circumstance, attracts like energetic frequencies. So if you're going to live in fear of what's going on with the coronavirus or the 5G issue, then you're going to attract fear is a very low vibration energy. You're going to attract more lower vibration things into your life. If you're going to perceive the issue as fearful and make it real, then that's what you're going to experience as the outcome of that. So are we allowed to do? What we get to do is to keep ourselves, to keep our thoughts, to keep our emotions at a high frequency of energy. And you rise above it. Because you see, a virus is a low frequency energy. And why is some people getting sick, but others the virus just passes right on through and it doesn't attach to them? Because viruses are low frequency energy and they attach to like low frequency energy issues happening within your body, of the energy that you're creating. If you keep yourself at a high frequency of energy, guess what, folks? The virus at the low frequency energy doesn't attach and it just passes right on through. Now, what I've just shared with you sounds very esoteric, but folks, I've been watching the videos, I've been doing the reading, it's all backed up by hard science. The most important thing we can do for ourselves and for this world is to keep ourselves in the high frequency of love and acceptance and forgiveness. View the world through acceptance and forgiveness. View the world through love. If you've got people coming at you like what I have in the drama situation, I choose to look past the actions that they are doing and see the person. Because behind that is a person that down inside in the subconscious mind wants to be a person who lives in harmony and peace with the universe and with everybody around them. Now, they've chosen to step into a lower frequency of attack with basically items that were just flat out lies. They chose to take those actions, but I'm not going to judge that. Now, I'm going to have to probably take action in the world because I still live here as we go before the court of law. But behind that, there will be the acceptance of the people, of the person that is there. Because at the quantum level, we're connected. You and I are connected. You two SEC attorneys and I, at the quantum level, we're connected. So I get to choose to stay in peace and harmony with this. And folks, that's what we get to do. But everything that's going on around us and all this drama that's taking place out there, there is a lot of fear that is going on in the world right now. One of the messages that I was reading was talking about is because people were saying, well, how long is this going to go on? This coronavirus issue is going to go on as long as we as a collective keep feeding the lower vibrational energy of it. And it's the collective consciousness of humanity here on earth of what we're going through. Our job is to rise above the fear, to rise above the anxiety, to rise above the drama, and to see it as opportunity for shift and change, to see it in a positive perspective and let all the drama go. Just let the drama go. Now, you may say, well, there's not enough of us to do all of that. It only takes 3 people that are very positive in their projections of the energy that they are projecting to override 100 negative ones. Powerful, loving energy is thousands of times more powerful than the negative energy. So what we do is we learn to go beyond it. We learn to rise above it. We learn to put out the positive energy. That's how you and I, as individuals, can choose to react to all this that's going on around us. And as I said, there's a lot of dark energy fear that is going on out there. And those that we call the controllers, the cabal controllers, see, they feed on that fear. They want humanity on fear because they know if they can keep the masses of humanity in fear, it empowers them, it allows them to be in control. This is how we get to choose to rise above it. One of the things that I've learned through this process is that whenever a crisis comes up, I always have the choice of my perception, how I'm going to react. I can choose to react in fear, anxiety, worry, and drama, or I can rise above it and see the crisis as an opportunity for growth and development. Crisis creates opportunity. That's how I choose to see this. All this drama going on around as a crisis that is creating an opportunity. So it's very important that we stay focused and all that. And it's very important that we keep our frequencies high within the frequencies of love. Blanca, that's pretty much all I wanted to say tonight. Otherwise, I'm just starting to get repetitive after this point in time, because I want to just summarize that it's important that we keep ourselves in that manner and that we get to rise above all this drama that's going on around us. What would you like to add to that tonight?
Well, I think that you and I, and I'm sure most of your listeners, like to be in the frequency of empowerment. And so the message that you're sharing is one of empowerment. Now, empowerment is a higher frequency than victimhood and helplessness. And so this is a good, I'll take it as humanity's final exam of all these years. We're working on our consciousness and working on our frequency. And now on a global level, because this is a global test, we're asked to see if we can process this experience on a high frequency. And some of the code words you were using, I think, are good ones for us to meditate on and explore what they mean to us. So you were using a term, interconnected, which I think is a very good term. I tend to prefer it over oneness, because oneness, some people feel there's a blending, there's a blob of consciousness, and the individual sort of gets lost. But interconnectedness still honors the unique consciousness, the unique perception, but it allows for a connectedness of consciousness. And so if we really meditate on that code word and really aim to experience it in our perception, it is a very, very empowering thing. What an empowering statement you made when you said about the SEC lawyer, we're interconnected. So then what happens is, if you see an interconnection, if you were in duality consciousness or victim consciousness, you could see yourself as a victim or being attacked by this individual or this particular event. But because you're acknowledging there is an interconnectedness, what you're allowing is for a co-creative experience. And so then if you say, okay, these are the ingredients of co-creation, what is the best outcome that can possibly happen with this? It's so funny that you mentioned these, because these are exact things that Al and I have been talking about. We were working on a project with a client, and it was going fascinating. We spent a lot of time designing it with the client. The client got very excited about it, and then as we're interacting with the city official about it, he's putting a lot of delimiters, a lot of roadblocks, let's put it this way, to this particular project. And we could have gone into anger or accusation or judgment of this individual, but instead, with that same thing in mind, we know we're interconnected, we said, okay, this is his contribution to the creation of a project. Now, how can we take that contribution of his and co-create something even better than what we had done in the beginning? And with that, it opened up a lot of different ideas for us. So I would say I really like that you shared that, because now what we can see is, okay, we were going on a certain trajectory as a human consciousness. We were going on a certain trajectory, and then this particular event comes up, and we can go into victimhood or fear, all those lower frequency energies, or we could say, wait a minute, here's the contribution in consciousness, or here's a contribution the universe is giving us, and it sure does feel like a final exam. And you don't get final exams until you're ready to pass to the next level. So what are we going to, right? What are we going to rise to? We're being encouraged to rise to the next level of human consciousness. So if we approach it that way, anytime we go in fear, we know, wait a minute, we're supposed to go up a level. Anytime we go into helplessness, we're supposed to go up a level. And so we can practice that. When we see other people who are in fear, we can approach the discussion with them in compassion and say, is there anything that we can say that might alleviate their concern a little bit? So I think that was really nice that you brought those concepts in, something for our listeners to kind of meditate and work with and use as tools as they're working to pass this final exam.
Well, you do such a great job, Blanca, of just kind of, I think, again, summarizing, and putting into a different perspective the things that I share, and it's always so well appreciated. At the end of the day, as humanity, as human beings, we're here to always be in a position of raising our consciousness, moving into a higher vibratory state, moving into a sense of we would call, our illumination, our light body sense of wonder. We're here to grow. We're here to expand. We're here to move into the highest state of consciousness. That is the only reason that we're here as humanity. If you want to see the world through a third density perspective, then welcome to the world of misery, pain, suffering, war, killing, and the list goes on. And guess what? You're going to keep coming back until you learn how to grow and move into the higher density, the fifth density of perspective. When we move into that sense of place of enlightenment is when we basically graduate from planet Earth, in so many words. When we learn to get beyond the warring consciousness, the anger consciousness, the density, competition, sensation of such dark energy, of misery and pain and suffering. See, all pain and suffering as essence is created from the ego consciousness. And our job is to undo the ego consciousness and move into enlightened consciousness as a humanity. And it's something that we are all progressing on. It's something we all do. Now, some of us are in different places along that path than others, but we all eventually get there. And that's why it's important that we don't judge others for being in a lesser state at this time, because they're going to be there. And our judgment is what holds us back. If I'm judging someone, then, I'm keeping myself in the lesser state. Now, the judgment is based upon your consciousness perspective. It doesn't have to do with what's going on in the external third dimensional world. So, yeah. Well, Blanca, I don't have a whole lot to share tonight. Other than that, I'm kind of ready to wrap up a program and keep it a short and succinct program tonight. How about you?
I think we've shared plenty. We've given folks plenty to think about, and your update on Meta 1, and you're going to actually do your final exam in flying colors. So
that's right.
I think we're all in the same boat.
Okay.
We're all in the same boat, and I think we're all going to pass the test.
All right. Well, I think because it's the program has been about 40 minutes tonight. That's usually kind of a listening capacity for most people, so I try to keep at that point when I want to be short and succinct and to the point. So, folks, I think with that, Blanca, I think we're ready to wrap it up. How about you?
I think we can call it a night.
I think we can do that then. Thanks, folks, for joining us tonight here on the April 1st program of the Cosmic Connections. And, folks, we'll probably see you again next week. Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye-bye.